Alrighty, friends, we are back. Your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 613, and we're recording on March the 28th. If you're watching the video version of this, you will see on your screen that there are three of us today. And that is because the co-founder, originator of this podcast show, Rob Woodbridge, has returned for a surprise engagement here. Welcome, Rob.
Hi, Steve. Aubriana, it's so good to be back. You'll regret this, I promise.
Yeah, and of course, Aubriana is here as well. So good to have both of you. Just quickly, how's everybody doing? Enjoying life, getting ready for spring. Yeah.
Good. I'm good. I'm gearing up for a nice trip to the Caribbean next week for our spring break. Surprising the kids. I am ready. Mentally, I think I'm already there. Got the palm branches behind me and everything. How are you, Rob?
Not gearing up for anything, taking my kids nowhere. Absolutely can't wait until winter in the fair city of Ottawa is gone. We have like 13-foot snowbanks. We're burnt, but the sign of eternal spring is upon us because we are a couple of days away from opening day. And that to me is that ice crack, the sun shines, leaves start to germinate, everything happens because of opening day. So it is, I have opening day and the last day of the baseball season, and those are my two seasons. That's it. And then there's darkness in between. So I can't wait for opening day baseball. It means so much. It means the winter's over.
Sometimes I think there should be a baseball podcast, we just talk about baseball a lot on here.
We do. But it's for good reason, right? We all like baseball, so it's good.
It would end in frustration, quite frankly.
Opening day, either it's going to be awesome, and we'll see what happens with the other sports. I don't know. The Leafs have qualified for the playoffs yet again. We'll see what happens if they can get out of the first round.
And now you're just rubbing it in.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit hurtful, if you ask me. That's tough.
The Senators might be there, Rob, too. We don't know. There's still a chance. So, yeah. Anyhow, all right. So let's get into the show here. We actually have 5 stories for you this week. I will kick it off with our first one. And that is our old friends, LBMA member company, Mood Media, has made a pretty big acquisition. The financial terms have not been disclosed, but they have acquired Vibenomics. And this is a company that we've talked about, Aubriana and I have talked about on the show over the last couple of years, doing very, very well at, in-store digital signage and content management systems, in retail in particular. And obviously Mood is a big player in-store music and content engagement, have installations in 500,000 business locations in 140 countries. So I think this makes sense. And, in particular, what I think makes sense about it is I think there's a good cultural combination going on here. If you actually look at Vibenomics and its management team and its founders, a lot of them came from Mood Media originally, so it's almost like bringing some of the old family back into the fold and accepting them again. So that's kind of fun and interesting. And at the same time, one of the biggest trends we've been talking about in location-based marketing and one of the themes of our upcoming Retail Local conference is the rise of retail media networks. And this is, a huge thing. We've talked on the show here about CVS and Walgreens and all sorts of retailers announcing their own in-store media networks, powered by digital signage and one-to-one communications with shoppers in stores and things like that. And retailers becoming, in the business of selling media, and not just whatever consumer goods, that they sell off of their shelves. And it's a big business. So it's projected in the US retail media spending to be $31 billion. It was $31 billion in 21, projected to go to $61 billion by 24. And this is an interesting stat. They say that spend, that $61 billion is projected to represent 17.2% of total US digital ad spending. That blows my mind. So I think this is a pretty interesting combination. Excited for what it means for Mood Media and Vibenomics. And hopefully we'll see them at Retail Loco talking about this kind of stuff in June. So any thoughts from either of you?
It's a vibe. Steve, it's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. No, I think this makes sense. Good acquisition. Interesting that it was like people who left Mood started and now they're back. It's always like interesting to think about how that culturally plays out with the company, but yeah, I mean, I think that this is a good fit, good acquisition for sure.
Got the whole Steve Jobs next being brought into Apple. It's got that feeling, which is good, and it's not uncommon for companies to find the founders you spin out and then get acquired because of what they're building. And it's probably more so around the fact that while Inside obviously found a niche, found a need, something that the company wasn't going to address, maybe a little bit ahead of time and or ahead of their time. And then tested it out in the real world, and then roll back into the company to actually benefit from it. But this one makes sense. What's staggering though is the amount of media that retail experience now. So I've been out of this for a little while, but to hear how much of an impact in-store media has on everything, and the spend that's going in there is incredible to me. That it has this much of an impact. I mean, as I get older, I spend more of my time online, and I shop locally, but I buy online and have it delivered. It's one of those things that retail experience on an old geezer like me is completely lost a lot of the time. Because my aim, and you should know, is that, and that's why you gave me one of these stories, which is about the AARP. But my aim is to get in and out of the store as quickly as possible. So it is a complete upheaval, I think, in the way that people reach or advertisers reach shoppers. But I do have a question about this. Like, what is this an accelerant since the pandemic ended? Or has it, like, are you seeing like a steep rise in this kind of spend since the pandemic ended? And is that just because people are flocking back to stores, or is it normalized now?
From my perspective, there's been a steep rise. There's been massive investments. Every retailer you can think of has announced, these kinds of media networks now. I mean, obviously Walmart TV was kind of the originator, right, of this type of thing. But now, seeing Kroger and seeing all these guys kind of embrace that. And Aubrey and I talked on the show the other week about a German company that has shopping cart technology, where you're pushing the shopping carts and it has sensors in it that then triggers content on the screens on the media networks, in store as well. So yeah, I think it's people are coming back, but this idea of being able to sort of market to them one-to-one kind of based on, a screen network inside of a store is really interesting. So
I would say, I feel like it's both. So I think the retailers that are staying open are certainly accelerating and investing here, but there's several that we've seen obviously that are closing up, multi-locations. So I think it just depends on either they're going bigger and investing, or they're scaling way back and bringing it completely online, like you mentioned, Rob. So
yeah, well, I mean, you name it in Canada, it's basically the barren wasteland of big box American retailers that can't make it up here. Right? Like it's a hard thing to get people into a store these days, and I guess you've got to diversify your revenue everywhere, and this is obviously one of them.
Yep.
Okay. Well, speaking of streamlining experiences, Rob, do you want to kick off the next one?
Yeah, this is interesting. So you've got to understand is that from an Ottawa perspective, Ottawa, the nation's capital of this fine country of Canada, we are the periphery of all things that are retail. So it happens everywhere else, and then it happens in Ottawa. Everywhere else. Like, you name another city in another country, and it's happened there, and then eventually 18 months later, it lands in Ottawa. And I would put Panera in this as well. Panera, I know of 3 locations in the city of Ottawa. There are probably more, but it is not as dominant. When I read about Panera having a reach of 66 million Americans, I don't see that in my fair city of Ottawa. Panera is here, but it's not visible. So it's a very interesting approach because should this ever happen in Ottawa, it will be 14 years from now, and my kids will have used this in every other city except for Ottawa. But this is Panera working very closely with Amazon One to offer their loyalty program and payments through Amazon's One payment process with your Palm. This is something that was launched in 2020, and it's a fascinating experiment in fast pay. You might as well just take your fingerprints, in my opinion, but this is a palm print, obviously, that is tied to the Panera loyalty program. What they're finding is that people that are eating in store obviously are a little bit more loyal to Panera, but those that are transient in nature through drive-through or through ordering online services are not as loyal as they would like, and they're trying to streamline and simplify the process of using your loyalty, signing up obviously, and then attaching each purchase to your loyalty program. This is an interesting one because I wonder how much this has to do with this shift back into the restaurant. They say that there is a huge number of people that have not come back into restaurants, just in general, especially quick serve restaurants, or they're using delivery services to deliver. And how do you then, you've sold your soul over the last 3 years during the pandemic to all of the food delivery services. Now, how do you break that habit and get them back into the store and create a much deeper loyalty program? I think that's the underlying thing here, is that they're looking for any way that they can to make merch or customers loyal again. And hopefully what ends up happening is they're moving off of those delivery platforms and they're coming in store. But this is a fascinating approach. It's a novelty. It's in 2 stores in 2 locations in St. Louis. Whether it rolls out to the rest of the country, who knows? But the convenience factor, I'm not sure. I mean, you've been using this for access into Amazon stores for quite some time, and but I don't know if this is something that I would do. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's like, is it really more convenient than tapping my watch? I don't know. It's the same motion. And I just had no idea that my palm was as unique as my fingerprint almost. What's your take on this? I think this is a fight against those delivery services that are delivering food and ripping off all of their merchants and taking, or not merchants, all their customers, and taking all that data and owning that data. In my opinion, that's my take on this. It's a good first shot, I would say. Thoughts?
Brianna?
So, I mean, I do think that, like, from streamlining, if you can streamline pay and loyalty at the same time, that's nice. So being able to have to like scan a card, put in my phone number, put in my email address, anything like that, I like that. And bringing it all together, but I don't see why you would have to use the Palm to do this. Like, couldn't your pay just be linked to your loyalty card and that be it? So if you tap your watch or, your phone or whatever you use, or your card, like, it should just be tied together. And I think there's a lot of people who are also going to feel adverse to scanning their palm. It's just like, it feels questionable,
but they won't share it. They won't share it, but you're now sharing all consumer activity with Amazon. And Amazon, if you're in the retail business, is the devil, right? Like, it is the thing. It will use your data to understand where they should be in business. Like, it is just, this is their MO. I'm not saying that it's wrong. We all want to be in a position where we're a monopoly, where we own retail. And to say that Amazon will be the last is wrong, because Walmart was at that point at one point, right? And Amazon, so, and Costco is huge. But it's a weird concept to think. Like, when I was at Lyft, we had those relationships that when you used Lyft and you had your specific type of credit card, it automatically applied multiple loyalty. Like, you see this everywhere. So you're right. Like, the simplicity factor is great, but the execution to me is tough.
Questionable.
Yeah, I nothing to add there. I agree with all the comments. I think the simplicity is great. I think card linked loyalty programs are much easier for people to adopt than anything else. Like the old, even like going way back, Foursquare and Amex teaming up and things like that, right? So, yeah. So, all right.
I don't see this rolling across the country. Like I can't imagine that this is something that they say every store.
I think it's just it's another kind of cog in the sort of growth of quick self checkout type technology, right? That we see from Amazon or Standard Cognition or any of those guys. So
we should stay tuned to see how many people are scanning their palms.
There you go. All right, Abriana.
All right, so let's go over to a very different story, but Yext, who we have covered many times on this show, is launching another capability that their small to medium-sized businesses or multi-location brands can take advantage of. And this is a no-code page builder. So you think about how website building typically requires developers, and we've seen other companies get into something like this, like a Wix or some others, but really this is like drag and drop functionality. So anyone can build a website, which would include the SEO optimization pieces. So obviously this is something that can stand up lots of localized marketing websites. You've got like all of those key features and functionality, which I would say ties back to Yext's kind of like core value proposition when they started, right? This is also built on Yext's existing page offering, where customers can build websites that integrate with its suite of products. So they've got like a knowledge graph, and this is all built off of a open source JavaScript library. And then it's going to be available with their spring release, which is now. It just turned spring, so that is now. I would say the big pro here is like anybody can really just dynamically edit, update those location sites. Whether they're an exec or anybody, they don't have to wait for that developer, and then they can be a little bit more agile. And I think that this is like really helpful and powerful, because sometimes when you put all of those things together, you're a small business, being able to scale and do this in a cost-effective way can be problematic. And if you want to do things with localized offerings, or maybe you have franchisees who you want to empower to be able to do this, I think that this is a great value add to their suite of products, and it makes sense.
Yeah. So just quickly on that, I agree with the comment that I think blending it together with some of their other existing offerings in their suite, like their search engines and their chat technology, and the SEO optimization pieces, it makes sense. And I think obviously they have a huge customer base, and being able to sort of give them the extended capabilities of building localized sites, I think is great. Obviously, there's lots of other players in that space. Our good friends at DevHub and others, that operate in this area. So it's not entirely unique or life changing here in terms of technology, but I think in terms of just meeting the needs of their existing customer base and kind of giving them that additional functionality, this makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think every business is trying to say, one, like what fits within our mission and values and like what we offer to our clients, and two, what aligns so we can gather more budget, right? Like how can we increase our revenue from existing clients? And so this is either a way to expand into that, or maybe take some of that market share from some of the other players if they are offering more and bundling products together. So again, I agree, not rocket science, maybe not the most, robust offering that there is, but perhaps something that they'll be able to gain some more on their bottom line. I don't know. Any thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's wallet share. That's what it's got to be for sure. That there's enough demand, or they've had enough of their customers, or they're referring their customers outside to somebody else. And why not capture a little bit about that revenue? Yeah, it's a different business. It's a challenge. But if it's for a specific use case, why not? And you have to be able to test, like you just heard with retail and in-store media, is that you have to be able to test opportunities to earn more from the customers that you have. So deepening that relationship and opening up their wallet, you've got trust with them. So it's probably a good experiment, and that's what all of these are. It's tough because, man, like how long has Foursquare, not Foursquare, but Squarespace been around? Like these guys, that's what they do, right? That's what you're competing against, and the other 2,000 companies that do the same thing. So maybe there's a specific use case or a niche. How long has WordPress been around? Same thing, right? Like these are companies that have been doing it forever. So, but you would think that there's opportunity here somewhere for them to increase revenue from a different source. Early on in a business, you focus on an exclusive thing, like you focus on the thing that is driving all of your growth. You focus on that revenue, and at some point it's going to open up opportunities where you can pull in additional revenue opportunities, and you have to exploit them. So that's what this sounds like to me.
All right, old man. Take us to the next story.
So when you cross 50 in the United States, there's this nonprofit organization called AARP. It's nonpartisan. It is the nation's largest nonprofit organization, and it is empowered to help people like me, the aged, the infirm, those that don't understand technology, help them live a little bit better as they age. And it is there are 38 million AARP members. I'm Canadian, so I'm just old, not an AARP member.
We have
but I do. Yeah. But I don't admit that I'm old. I mean, it is a state of mind. But if you are old, and I've had these moments with my kids where I look at them and I think, oh, I don't understand any of this. Did you just speak English to me? You're not speaking English to me. And then I just had a flashback to me having the same type of conversation with my father, who was probably way younger than me at the time, and thinking, God, that guy is so old. And now I am that man. So this is a perfect story for me. It is actually about driving and the launch of the AARP Safe Trip app. This is something you can download from your various app stores, iOS or Android. You do not have to be an AARP member. You just have to be old, I suppose. There's a qualification. And this is, for some reason, 69% of those surveyed have admitted to actually unsafe practices while in the vehicle that they are driving. So that means that they're taking a call, they're checking their texts or emails, or if you're like me, you're trying to find the song in Apple Music, but I can't see the damn screen because it's too freaking small. And so you're trying to figure out where the button is that it instigates Siri to be able to do that. So if you're that person and you need some help in your driving skills, this is this app that the AARP has launched, the AARP Safe Trip. It measures your driving quality based on a few things: acceleration, so that fast acceleration, which is a no-no, hard braking, which is a no-no, cornering, which is a no-no unless it's snowing and you hit that perfect groove where you slide around the corner, which is incredible for those that are in snow climates. Speeding, which is clearly a no-no, and phone usage. And it takes all that and gives you basically criticism, constructive criticism on your driving. And if you achieve certain milestones, like doing not hard braking for a number of days in a row, you get rewarded. And there are rewards if you're not a member, and there are greater rewards if you are a member. Good Lord, this is the last thing on earth, even if you told me that this information wasn't being shared with anybody, that I would ever do in this lifetime. I've read a few reviews in the app stores, and some people love it, some people hate it. Some people say that, hey, it wasn't even me driving, and yet it's still recording me, and it's going against me. So if you leave your phone, or if your phone is in the car and somebody else is driving, like you have these instances where it can be a mistake. There was one guy that even gave a review that said, I was out for a 12-minute walk and I got penalized for hard braking. So there's certain things that the phone can and can't do, but I can appreciate that they want to help you drive safer. But good Lord, I'm at that age where I'm paranoid about my driving to begin with, and then sharing that data with somebody who's not going to share it, but still it's out there in the world. Man, I'm not sure if that's a good thing. That's a long explanation. I'm old. It takes me a long time to get to the point, but that is this brand new app from AARP called Safe Trip. Guys, would you ever entrust a third party with your driving data? But they promise and they swear to God that they won't use it for insurance.
Not for this. Yeah, for insurance, maybe. I mean, if it's going to save me money,
What if it costs you money?
yeah, I don't know, but no, I'm definitely with you on this. I'm not going to use it for this, but like as you were talking, Rob, a story from our past, way, way, way back, when you were still doing this show regularly, it popped into my mind, and you might remember we covered an app out of Boston called Bump, and
Yes, of course.
and so this was an interesting thing because what you were doing there is you had an app kind of like this. It was collecting background information about your driving, and like this has got to be 10 years ago. Like it's using accelerometer and the barometric sensors and all this stuff. And what it was doing is it would measure as you were hitting potholes and bumps in the road, and then transmit that data to the city so they could send out a crew to fix the potholes and stuff like that.
So they can ignore it in your city, right? Like
yeah, exactly, right? So, but at least that was like actually transmitting somewhat potentially useful information, right? That could improve the city. This I don't know. This isn't for me. So.
It's a cool Ottawa company called Raven, and they do fleet management with, basically a device in your car. It has two-way camera. It has all of those sensors. It connects to the OBD2 port in your car. So it pulls up all the information that's very relevant. I mean, we talked about that way back in bump days as well. So it's not reliant on your phone and the accelerometer in your phone, and it tells me when I'm hard braking or speeding. But it is contained on the device. It is not a connected device. So I can pull that information off, and it saved me on multiple occasions when somebody hits my car or some ice flew off of somebody else's car, cracked my windshield, and I had it on camera, and I could get their license plate, and then I could file a claim. Like there's certain things that help, but it is there's a lot of technology that's out there that is there to support it, but it's a use case like that, and if it's contained and it's not sharing that data anywhere on the internet, that to me is the first flag. But I this is tough for me. Aubriana, like, do you drive in New York? And if you do, like, would you ever use this? Like, it's all hard braking and acceleration. You'd be like, that's all.
I do drive, but two things. One, I think that if you're targeting like AARP members, instead of like Bump, you should have Grump, because they should have like a grumpy meter. That's what I think they need, okay? To let you know when you're starting to become an a-hole. That's what you need. But you know what's funny? I was thinking about this is like, we all use GPS, right? Whether you use Waze, which will soon just be part of Google Maps, or like, you don't think that this information is readily available from that app while you're using it? I mean, we don't even think about that, right? But they have all of the data. I don't think I would ever use this just like on its own. No. And yeah, there's probably a lot of things that you can't even think about. Like, are they eating while they're driving? Are they looking to make sure pedestrians aren't crossing the road while they're making that turn?
That doesn't matter. They don't matter. Pedestrians don't matter. Like, where's that?
And how does this work for seniors with self-driving cars? That's what I want to.
Yeah. When does that happen? The Teslas of the world, right? When does that happen? Because that's what I'm waiting for. All of this is irrelevant as soon as I can get into a self-driving car.
Anyhow.
But I use Apple Maps, and they've sworn to God that they're not tracking me, right? I believe them wholeheartedly, 1,000%. Yeah, like I have total faith. Google the devil, Apple the angel, right? That's the way that it's done. Is that
okay?
No,
I don't know. I mean, you're talking to a Samsung person over there, so.
Oh,
I mean, come on. If you want to say that, like, Apple is not self-serving at all by making it impossible to track mobile devices and then starting their own ad network, I mean, sure, they're totally focused on privacy.
Yeah, but it's different. It's totally different. It's Apple privacy. I think there's a little trademark over the top of that somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's like creating a disease and the cure at the same time, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
it is. Absolutely.
Alrighty. Okay, let's roll. We got one more story here I want to get out about our friends at Reveal Mobile. So obviously longtime location based marketing player in the space here. And our friends Dan Dillon and company over there. So they made an announcement just the other day of a new out-of-home campaign measurement solution. And, I think we've talked about a lot of, these types of solutions in the marketplace, like using, location data to measure the impact and effectiveness of, digital out of home or billboard campaigns, how many devices are in proximity that can see the ad and all those kinds of things. What's interesting about this and what they're saying is unique about this is that rather than waiting till the end of the ad campaign has run to get sort of the results, they're doing this while it's running incrementally, and giving you sort of the opportunity to change the the content or on the fly to adapt to what the data is saying of who the audience is and things like that. So again, I don't think I don't see this as technology, rocket science breaking, the norms here. But, I think giving people kind of like the X story, giving people and their existing customer base that additional capability to, shorten that window of the time frame that you're waiting to get the data to track and then, adjust along the way, I think it is quite valuable. So I like it for that reason. Brianna, you?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about this as like they're seeing an opportunity. I think media measurement is a very hot space right now, and everybody's trying to figure out if they can play in it, whether it is because they sell media, because they, run the campaigns. Like there's a lot of players trying to be in that, whether it's television, digital out of home, general out of home, like whatever it is, it's ripe. Like it's nobody has claimed it yet. So I think that everybody's trying to kind of put their stamp on it and see if it will stick. And so I see that that's what they're doing. They're taking advantage of that market, and a lot of advertisers, I think right now their budgets are being held to a higher standard where they're having to have more accountability for the revenue that they generate from their advertising. So they're saying, okay, what can I prove and what can I measure? And so simply a lot of like brand awareness campaigns still have to be measured in some way, shape, or form. So I think that this is like their answer to that. So I'm interested to see how this grows. I do find measuring out of home, even digital out of home, it's very probabilistic, right? In terms of knowing who saw the ad, who went in, and like obviously you're going to have a very small subset of that data available to measure off of, but it's all scale and numbers, right? So if you can see that with a small source of data, then you can expand upon it, and that's probably what they're doing. I'm guessing at their methodology here, but this is my guess based on knowing Reveal. And so I think that it's like a smart way of doing that. And really, if they can empower those marketers and advertisers that are already buying their solutions and services to come and spend more money with them, because they're saying, okay, I can buy this, I can spend more, I can justify the ROAS here. It works. So it's my 2 cents.
Totally agree. Any quick comment, Rob?
I always say I mean, I agree with what you both said, and you're deeply embedded in this, and just from a kind of a 30,000 foot view, I always, we went through this whole process early on in the days, like early advertising, it had a huge impact because advertising was fresh and new. It was brand new. And then everybody started questioning the ROI in advertising. 50% of your advertising works. You just don't know which 50%. So then all of a sudden, what was enabled by this internet era and the mobile era and digital out of home was the opportunity now to actually track and attribute to advertising. So that 50% may not be 50% anymore. It's like 25%. You don't know where it's effective. And so now there's all these options that are floating around that are doing this. And are we now, we're spending way more money, but are we still in that vein where 50% of advertising is effective, but you just don't know what 50% is? Has it shifted back to that again? And now we have to re-innovate in this in order to be able to bridge that attribution gap, or am I way off here? Because we've been talking about this for a long time, right? Attribution and working through. But I wonder if we thought we cracked it 6 years ago, and are we back to that point where we're still fighting that same battle? We're back to 50%. What do
Yeah,
you guys think?
I think the demand is there, and to Arena's point, like it is, this kind of measurement is extremely hot. Like it's what everybody's clamoring for right now, right? And it's not just in out of home. It's right. It extends to, you know, over the top, like on the TV side. It extends to, you know, a lot of different services right now, right? And they're all blending together, right? It's, in this case, it's, you know, in Reveal's case, it's programmatic, it's out of home, it's, you know, store visits, it's app click-throughs, it's all kind of tied together, right? So I think definitely, you know, the advertisers and the media buyers are looking for these kinds of solutions. So
Yeah, without doubt.
yeah, absolutely. So, well, that's it. That's our show for this week. So for our listeners and viewers out there, thank you so much. This has been episode number 613 of Location Weekly. We thank you so much for your time. Rob, thank you for coming in and being part of this once again. We really appreciate that. And you know, for
you do know that sorry to, like, 613 is the Ottawa area code.
Yes,
So,
I am aware. It's perfect.
If that's odd, that it was perfect. So I appreciate you guys having me back here for the
There you
old
go.
guy perspective.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're listening out there, give us some likes, some love on whatever podcast platform you're consuming this on. If you have story ideas, let us know about that. And if you're you know, a vendor or technology company out there that wants to be on this, let us know. And we'd love to see you at Retail Loco as well, which will be June 13th and 14th in partnership with Mall of America, in the Mall of America. So come out and join us at that as well. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.